It may surprise or even shock you to hear what I'm about to say, but if you're seeing this video right now, it's no accident. You've been tested in ways that almost broke you. Forces you couldn't name, or sometimes could, kept pushing against your spirit, trying to block your path and dim your light. Yet here you stand, a true chosen one, no longer on the defensive, but on the other side of that intense trial. The hardest part is over, and it's time to step into the rewards that have been waiting for you: prosperity, deep love, and genuine happiness. If you can feel that shift, that sense of completion buzzing in the air, please like this video, subscribe, and comment 77 feet below to signal you're ready for this new level of abundance. Chapter 1. The climax of your struggle. There was likely a moment, maybe not long ago, where you felt the tension was hitting a peak. Everything you'd been facing, from misunderstandings to outright attacks, seemed to converge all at once. The pressure was relentless. It felt like you couldn't catch your breath. You might have looked around for someone to turn to, only to find that you had to stand your ground, largely on your own. And that sense of loneliness, combined with the burden of each day, made it feel like you were locked in a war with no clear endpoint. Yet deep down, something in you refused to surrender. Even when exhaustion took hold, you still had that flicker of belief, an almost instinctual knowing that the chaos couldn't last forever. This inner certainty guided your every step, reminding you that you were born to endure, to outlast even the fiercest storm. As time wore on, you might not have realized it, but every small act of courage chipped away at the walls that seemed so imposing. Then, without warning, the walls cracked. The enemies, whether they were toxic people or intangible obstacles, lost their grip. You broke through. Looking back, you recognized the signs that victory was imminent. You felt it in small shifts: a sudden calm in your usually turbulent thoughts, a piece of unexpected kindness that arrived just when you needed it, a stranger offering a genuine smile when you were starting to lose hope. These moments were subtle cues from the universe, hinting that your win was closer than it appeared. Still, you couldn't be sure until you saw it with your own eyes, until that day arrived where it was clear the tide had turned. And so, the battle ended, perhaps not with fireworks, but with quiet resolution. The obstacles gave way. People who harmed you began facing their own consequences. And you discovered you were free. Free from the drama, free from the weight of constant struggle, free to look ahead without the shadow of conflict looming overhead. That quiet hush you feel is the space that emerges when a brutal war has finally ceased. It's the ground zero of something new, something you fought so hard to secure. It's where your next chapter begins. Chapter 2. The final toll. It took emerging from a prolonged struggle can leave its marks, both visible and hidden. You might notice you're more cautious around new people or situations, or find your emotional reserves need time to refill. Some days you might still feel the phantom ache of old battles, as though your mind is waiting for the next attack. That's a natural residue of having to stay guarded for so long, bracing yourself for the next punch that thankfully never came. Yet these scars also serve as reminders of what you've overcome. They are the souvenirs of your resilience, the proof that no matter how dire things became, you didn't break. If you tried to run from the experience or bury it, the lessons might be lost. But by acknowledging the toll it took, you can process and let go, making room for the blessings now rising to meet you. This acceptance isn't about dwelling on how you were hurt or dwelling in bitterness toward those who challenged you. It's about honoring the fact that you carried a heavy load and still managed to reach the other side. It's an affirmation that you were strong enough to face what others couldn't or wouldn't handle. The exhaustion that followed your final victory is a sort of emotional aftershock, urging you to rest and heal before diving into the bright horizon that awaits. Think of it like muscle soreness after intense exercise. It might be uncomfortable, but it also signifies growth, a testament that you've pushed beyond the previous limit. And just as muscles rebuild stronger, your emotional and spiritual core will be sturdier for having endured this. It prepares you for bigger dreams, higher aims, and deeper connections. In this sense, the tool wasn't just a loss, it was an investment in who you're becoming. While you recover from the battle's aftermath, Allow yourself a gentle detour from your usual responsibilities to reflect on how far you've come. This isn't selfish, it's self-care. And in those moments of reflection, you'll likely feel gratitude blooming. Gratitude for the strength you found when you thought you had none left, for the unexpected allies who showed up at just the right moment, and for the raw clarity that comes only when everything else is stripped away. Because as harsh as the fight was, it refined you, honed your instincts, and reminded you of your immense capacity to endure and conquer. Chapter 3. Collecting your rewards. In the wake of a conflict, people often expect the spoils of victory to come rolling in at once. But sometimes the blessings you've earned appear more quietly, like gentle waves lapping at the shore. You might see an improvement in your finances, maybe a job offer or a raise that aligns perfectly with your newfound sense of worth. Or love might surface in an unexpected corner. A friend introduces you to someone, or a conversation with a stranger sparks a deep connection. Happiness, too, seeps into surprising cracks. Simple pleasures feel more vivid. Restful moments expand into genuine peace. No matter how these rewards manifest, they share one core trait. They arrive with an ease you've rarely experienced before. You no longer feel like you have to hustle ceaselessly for every small gain. Instead, it's as though the universe acknowledges the battles you fought, stepping into light and lighting your load. You stand in a current of well-being, realizing that for once, you don't have to struggle to stay afloat. Instead, you can let the current carry you toward the blessings you rightfully deserve. At times, you might question whether it's okay to accept these rewards so freely. After all, you're used to working for every inch of progress. But the truth is, you've already paid your dues in the form of emotional endurance, resilience, and unwavering faith. Think of it as a cosmic paycheck for the unpaid overtime your soul invested. This is not just a superficial victory dance. It's a legitimate compensation for the bruises your spirit endured. The more you accept these gifts, the more they'll integrate into your life's fabric. This can mean actual financial breakthroughs, like money owed to you finally being repaid or an inheritance you never expected, alongside emotional prosperity, such as rediscovering joy in daily routines. You may find that social circles expand as well, attracting people who genuinely uplift and support you. Each new connection or opportunity feels like another validation that your time has arrived. All of this signals a shift. You're done surviving. Now you're thriving. And though it may feel unfamiliar to move without the weight of conflict, it's precisely the freedom you fought for. When you collect your blessings, do so with the confidence that you've earned them. No need to downplay or second-guess the legitimacy of your success. This is your season of abundance, your chance to experience what it feels like to walk unburdened and unafraid. Exactly how a victorious chosen one is meant to live. Chapter 4. A New Era of Love. Among the treasures you're stepping into, love stands out as especially significant. It might be romantic love, someone who sees you for who you are and celebrates the strength you've honed through adversity. Or it could be self-love, blossoming in ways you never knew possible, a gentle acceptance of your own flaws and virtues. In some cases, it's the love of genuine friendships that honor your journey rather than question it. The conflict you endured likely left scars in how you relate to others. Maybe you had to erect emotional walls for protection, or you second-guessed every kind word, wondering if it was a trap. Now that the storm has passed, love can appear in a clearer form, raw, untainted by the fears that once overshadowed it. You're more receptive to kindness, more willing to trust, because you've learned to recognize sincerity after dealing with so much falsehood. This fresh wave of love may come with surprises. You might realize old friends are re-entering your life with renewed respect, or new people are drawn to your transformed energy. Sometimes it's an unfamiliar compassion you feel for yourself. You catch yourself smiling in the mirror, noticing a softness in your eyes that says, "I made it through." This self-love is not conceit, but a well-earned grace that arises from understanding your own resilience. Such a shift also highlights how love is an active principle. It's not just about receiving, but also about giving. Now that you've reclaimed your space, you can offer kindness and empathy without fear of depletion. You're no longer locked in defensive mode, which frees you to invest in relationships wholeheartedly, And in giving love sincerely, you attract even more of it. The universal law of reciprocity spins in your favor, feeding into a positive cycle that your adversity once tried to block. Perhaps you'll see love in the simplest gestures. A friend makes time to check on you. A neighbor brings over homemade cookies. Or a partner rubs your shoulders at the end of a long day. Before, these gestures might have gone unnoticed amid the chaos. But in your new clarity, you'll see them for what they are. Tangible expressions of care that reaffirm you're no longer alone in the fight. This era of love stands as proof that your victory extends beyond personal triumph into shared warmth and connection, healing the emotional wounds left by battles now firmly in the past. Chapter 5. Wealth that doesn't just mean money. Wealth, as the world usually frames it, points to numbers on a statement or possessions behind a lock. Yet for a chosen one emerging from a season of trial, wealth is a spectrum. Cash flows certainly matter. Perhaps that long-awaited promotion finally lands. A forgotten royalty check appears, or a side hustle blossoms into robust income. Still, these tangible gains are only one column in a ledger that also tracks opportunities, access, creativity, time, freedom, and self-trust. You discover that the richest people you know aren't always the ones with the heaviest wallets. They're the ones who can pivot quickly, collaborate widely, and sleep soundly. Surviving conflict recalibrated your relationship with money. The word budget no longer tastes of scarcity, but of strategy. Instead of using funds to plug leaks of fear, you funnel them toward expansion. Seed capital for a startup idea. Tuition for a skill that unlocks fresh revenue. A restorative trip that refills the well of inspiration. Every purchase becomes a vote for the life you're building, rather than a bandage on the one you escaped. That mindset invites a curious paradox. The less you chase money as salvation, the more effortlessly it circulates back to you, because you've proven you can steward it with clarity. Personal wealth now includes non-negotiable intangibles. You protect Saturday mornings for writing music or Tuesday lunches for volunteering because time is the most democratic currency. Every soul gets 24 hours, but few invest them wisely. Genuine friendships feel like high-yield accounts, compounding laughter, insight, and accountability. Even mental bandwidth. Those segments of consciousness once hijacked by survival plotting turn into fertile terrain where daydreams germinate into inventions. Operating from this broader definition of wealth turns you into a magnet. Investors appear who resonate with your mission. Collaborators message you from countries you've never visited, drawn by the authenticity pulsing through your work. Because your internal economy thrives, curiosity abundant, gratitude liquid, you recognize chances others deem risky as calculated stepping stones. Creativity surges, horizons stretch. You realize your earlier ceiling was just a poorly painted sky, yet newfound affluence carries its own audit. Visibility attracts opportunists eager to siphon resources. Some will cloak entitlement and flattery. Others wield guilt, suggesting you owe them a shortcut. Your recent crucible, however, sharpened discernment, sharper than any spreadsheet formula. You sense the faint dissonance in a handshake that values access over connection, or a partnership proposal that flatters ego but starves purpose. Trust that instinct. You can be generous without becoming a buffet. Responsible celebration of wealth means creating structures that outlive impulse. Automatic giving percentages, investments in sustainable enterprises, or scholarships that lift unseen dreamers. These safeguards convert windfalls into waterfalls, nourishing ground far beyond your personal garden. They also keep you humble. Every check written to an initiative bigger than yourself reminds you that abundance is on loan from the universe, not a personal trophy nailed to the mantle. Above all, remember that wealth is cyclical energy. Hoarded water stagnates, circulated water irrigates. When gratitude, strategic generosity, and disciplined vision govern your flow, money becomes a multi-tool, building, healing, exploring, rather than an anchor of anxiety. You step into rooms radiating relaxed confidence, knowing you no longer measure worth by account balances, but by the alignment between resources and purpose. That inner alignment is visible, palpable, and contagious, silently inviting others to redefine wealth on their own expansive terms. Chapter 6. Entering a state of genuine happiness. Happiness, they say, is fleeting, something that comes and goes like waves on a shore. Yet after your intense trials, the happiness you now taste feels richer, more grounded. It is not the fleeting euphoria that vanishes at the slightest hint of trouble. This is a deeper contentment, the kind that comes from knowing you've been tested and have emerged stronger, more confident, more in tune with what truly matters. In this season, everyday moments light up with significance. The sun filtering through your window in the morning can bring a smile, or cooking a simple meal feels like an act of gratitude. You find yourself more present in conversations, genuinely listening instead of bracing for the next emotional storm. And with your mind free from old battles, you can indulge in small hobbies and passions, reading a novel, tending a garden, or dancing to a favorite song, without the tension that once weighed on your spirit. Others notice the quiet glow in your demeanor. You carry yourself differently, shoulders relaxed, eyes clearer, humor lighter, because hidden threats no longer occupy mental real estate. Life isn't suddenly perfect. Challenges arise. Bills still need paying. Misunderstandings still occur, but your response has transformed. You greet problems with steady breath and solution-focused curiosity, aware you've survived worse and grown stronger. Problems feel finite. Your peace feels renewable. This happiness also ripples outward. Your calm presence anchors rooms, softening tempers before they flare. A colleague, seeing your centered approach, mirrors it in their own crisis. A sibling wrestling with private grief observes your journey and decides maybe hope isn't naive after all. Happiness becomes communal currency. You spend it generously simply by being, because this state is earned. You tend it like a living garden. You practice micro-gratitudes, pausing to notice the smell of coffee or the way rain patterns on glass. You keep boundaries that protect peace, fewer doom-scrolling sessions, more soul-nourishing conversations. You schedule creative play the way others schedule workouts, knowing joy is muscle as much as mindset. When darker emotions surface, loneliness on a quiet night, frustration after a tough day, you don't shame them or fear backsliding. You welcome them as weather systems passing through an otherwise stable climate. Journaling, meditation, or an honest talk with a trusted friend clears the sky again. This mature happiness allows space for the full range of feeling without relinquishing equilibrium. You begin setting joy intentions for each month, learning one new recipe, visiting one unfamiliar park, writing one letter of appreciation. These small targets keep life fresh, proving happiness thrives on novelty as much as on routine. Soon you realize you're not just content, you're quietly excited about tomorrow's. Most profoundly, happiness now feels like homecoming. You remember who you were before turmoil tried to rewrite your narrative. A curious, compassionate soul, ready to savor existence. You reclaim that baseline self, upgraded by resilience and wisdom. Adversity no longer gets the final word. It becomes a preface to chapters of serenity, creativity, and service. Happiness is no longer a guest. It's a rightful resident, evidence you've entered a more harmonious era, and a reminder that the best chapters still await your pen. Chapter 7. Standing at the threshold of what's next. You might be tempted to think the story ends here, in this comforting place of relief and newly won joy. Yet for a chosen one, victory is never a cul-de-sac. It's a shimmering gateway. You're standing at the threshold of a future so spacious it almost feels weightless. The unknown no longer looms as a menacing question mark. It sparkles with invitation, adventures to embark on, unfinished dreams still soft with possibility, and missions that will reveal themselves the moment you inhale fully after the last ordeal. Pause and recognize how different the horizon feels now. Once, what's next, carried an undertone of dread. Today, it hums with curiosity. You sense life still has far more to offer beyond money, romance, or personal happiness. These blessings, while precious, are not finish lines but fertile soil. They anchor your nervous system so you can plant more daring seeds. Perhaps a passion project, a philanthropic venture, or an audacious work of art that only someone who has walked through fire could conceive. Consider channeling your newfound abundance into mentorship. Funding a dream you would have killed for back when resources were scarce. Imagine establishing scholarships, community gardens, or tech incubators that give others the wings you once lacked. Your gifts, tempered in the crucible of adversity, are now multipliers. Every insight you share, every resource you allocate, ripples outward through families you've never met and futures you'll never personally witness. Take a moment to fully inhabit this calm plateau. Feel how your gait has changed, lighter yet purposeful. How your voice carries new resonance. How even your silences feel rich because they're no longer crowded by fear. Success is not solely the acquisition of external goods. It's the evolution of inner cadence. That resonance is the real treasure you take forward, the portable sanctuary you'll rely on when new frontiers demand unfamiliar courage. Let curiosity be the compass that pulls you onward. Which spaces call for your unique frequency? Maybe it's an unexplored continent or an overlooked neighborhood in your own city. Perhaps it's a discipline you dismissed as impractical, filmmaking, astrophysics, culinary science, that now sparks like flint against dry wood. Remember, you're free to choose challenges not out of desperate need, but thrilling desire. Ambition has been reframed. No longer the frantic climb away from lack, it's a creative partnership with possibility. Inevitably, new tests will surface, but they will feel different. Less like survival drills and more like elective courses designed to deepen mastery. You'll meet them equipped with prior blueprints. How did you dismantle scarcity mindset? How did you open your heart after betrayal? Those solutions become adaptable formulas, where once you reacted, you now respond, architecting outcomes rather than bracing for impact. Your circle will feel the shift as well. Some companions will rise beside you, galvanized by your transformation. Others may drift, unable to match the new altitude. Hold no resentment. Every life moves at its own pace, and your example might become their North Star later when they're ready to climb. Meanwhile, fresh companions will gather. Fellow builders, dreamers, quiet giants whose skills dovetail with yours. Together, you'll weave collective brilliance that none of you could generate alone. As opportunities multiply, practice discernment. Not every glittering door aligns with your core codes. Ask, does this path honor my essence? Expand impact and preserve well-being. If it scores 2 out of 3, negotiate. If it lands 0, decline with gratitude. Boundaries guard the clarity you've earned. Time, too, takes on new texture. You no longer spend against it. You collaborate with it. That collaboration may look like seasons of intense output, followed by deliberate sabbaticals where you refill creative reservoirs. Productivity becomes cyclical, mirroring nature's rhythms rather than society's relentless clock. This pacing sustains imagination and protects joy. You see the future as an unfinished tapestry and your choices as bright threads. Money, love, and happiness are the dyed fibers you've already woven to the loom. Now you select new colors, service, invention, legacy to expand the pattern. Some sections will be intricate, others minimalist, but each will reflect deliberate artistry. Remember, this threshold isn't a finish line. It's a drawbridge between survival and sovereignty. Crossing it means accepting a new identity, architect of possibility. Here, goals evolve into ecosystems, and wins convert into shared capital, emotional, intellectual, financial, that elevates many, not just one. So breathe deeply. Let gratitude fill your lungs. Courage straightens your spine, and wonder brightens your gaze. With heart unguarded, step forward. The land ahead is vast, and your story, despite all you've accomplished, has only just begun.